What is up, fight fans? So you are going to want to stick around for this video because I was contacted directly by Steel City Interactive, and what they told me is very important to the information that we know so far with Esports Boxing Club. Now, I know that there are concerns for the game. Heck, I even have concerns because we want it to be the best that it can be so that we can enjoy it and that it succeeds, which is the most important thing because we've been waiting for a boxing game for so long. And I'm gonna go ahead and tackle two of those concerns in this video. Now, without any further ado, this is Edward and you're watching Boxing Fanatico. All right, guys, so let's talk about the two items. And this video could be a series. It can be a series. This can be part one of this series leading into the game, even going into the early access, as the early access is going to be kind of like bare bones. It's not going to have everything in it until the full release of the game, as they're using early access as a way to continue to calibrate the game and add certain elements into it to make it the best game possible before its release. So basically, whoever plays it in early access is playing it during an additional testing phase or an additional development phase to get it ready for full release. So I can make this a series. Let me know as concerns rise. I can go ahead and talk about it, and we can go ahead and sit here and talk about these concerns. Now, before I even jump into the two concerns for this video that we want to talk about, I'm going to say right off the jump, I'm 100% excited for this game. I am 100% optimistic about this game from what we've seen. Not from what I've played. I haven't played the game. I don't know how the game plays or anything like that. From what I've seen, I'm optimistic about this game based on the animations that I've seen, based on the movement trailers, the graphics, things of that nature. But even with that, there's always going to be concerns because we just want the game to succeed. We just want it to reach the highest pinnacle so that we can keep on playing boxing games in the modern times and not have to keep playing boxing games in the past. So what are the two concerns that I'm going to tackle today? Well, the first one is the roster. We have to tackle that. Now, just because I'm tackling these concerns doesn't mean that I'm automatically going to say, well, they're going to get this person and this person. Let's just talk about this. And also, let's go ahead and talk about the concerns that people may have had with the movement trailer, where a lot of people felt that many of the movements were very slow or the same, things like that. I liked many elements of the trailer, but there were parts of it that bothered me in terms of the speed of the punches. But let's talk about this. And Steel City Interactive directly communicated with me in regards to this specific situation. And we're going to go ahead and jump into that. But first, let's talk about the roster. Now, I interviewed Steel City Interactive. I actually interviewed their creative director, Ash Habib, and I asked them, are we going to get top 10 fighters from the pound for pound list? Are we going to get, are we going to get people like Manny Pacquiao, people like Lomachenko, things like that? Like, I asked them specific questions. I try to really hold him up to the wall so he couldn't try to wiggle his way out. But he said something that's important, and we need to remember this all the time when it comes to these boxing games. And if you want, you can see the entire interview. It was in written form, so I'm reading out his reply. But those were the questions that I asked and they answered. What he said was the reason that we don't have a boxing game, the number one reason that we do not have a boxing game for so many years, that everyone shies away and we always get these like generic, mobile games or arcade games, and nothing ever lives up to being a good successor to like the Fight Night series. The main reason, the number one reason, is because of getting fighters on the game. The uniqueness that comes with boxing in terms of not having one single kind of governing body that controls all of the elements of boxing. And because boxing does not have that, and every single fighter is its own individual contract, makes it a mountain of a task to even get a few fighters in there, because they have to literally convince every single person one by one and have them each sign one by one to get them in the game. Now, it's easier to make a UFC game in this respect because all you have to do is sign the contract with UFC and you have access to their entire roster. You don't have to go individually because they're all under that one governing body of UFC. So do you guys get this? We don't have a boxing game because of the roster issue. So if you're sitting back and thinking to yourself, oh man, no, they better have this, they better have this guy, they better have that guy, they better have this guy and that guy, understand that your pushback of like, I want him, if not, this game is going to be horrible, is why we don't have a boxing game to begin with. Allow them to bring out the game with the roster that they have. And then at that point, if the game grows, because they're even thinking about the future of this game. They're trying to future-proof the game. You have to remove Fight Night from your head, where it's like you get the game and that's it. That was 9 years ago. They understand that element. They're making it a seasonal game, which means if we as a community take to this game, it grows in popularity. It becomes a very popular game as all of the fight fans start to just flock towards it. Fighters will start to notice it, and many fighters would want to be on the game, and even the top pound for pound fighters. Right now, a lot of people are iffy to be on a boxing game because they don't know if it's going to succeed or not. If it succeeds, then we increase the chances that you'll get Shakur Stevenson or Andre Ward or a Mayweather or a Lomachenko or a Charlos brothers or Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., the list goes on and on. They'll all have a higher possibility of wanting to be on the game if the game releases and is a success. So with that, don't let that one element be the thing that tells you, oh, I'm not going to buy a boxing game. I mean, that is incredibly closed-minded when don't you want to play a boxing game? Like, it'll be amazing if we could get the fighters that we want, but wouldn't you rather a boxing game come out? Would you prefer that it just not come out at all and we spend another 9 years waiting for a boxing game simply because even though it might have all the mechanics that we want, every type of detail to it, but it just doesn't have Mayweather, so I'm out. Or it doesn't have Lomachenko, so it's a no buy for me. It's a no go for me. You know what I mean? Like, really, really think about the ramifications of trying to scare every single company who cares about making a boxing game from not making it simply because they can't acquire some licenses for some big fighters. And the way that Esports Boxing Club is doing it, they're doing a strategic chess game so that they can try to garner interest in the game so that future seasonal iterations can have a higher potential to have somebody from the top pound for pound list or somebody very popular in the US, not just in the UK, and of course around the world. So that's that element. I wanted to tackle, and I wanted to give my opinion in what I thought about how the roster will play out. Whatever the roster is, whatever it is, of course, I would want certain fighters on there. Obviously, I'm from the US. There's a lot of fighters from the US that I would love to have on there. But I'm not going to have that handicap or tie their hands to making this game for us. No, that's icing on the cake. I still want the cake. Now let's go ahead and move on to what we saw in the movement trailer. Now, for the most part, I would say 85% of people that I've interacted with, that seen the trailer, that from comments, from social media, I'll say about 85 to about 90% of people overwhelmingly liked the movement trailer. I did, but some had gripes, and others, like maybe 15 or 10%, didn't like the movement trailer. Said that it didn't look good. They didn't like how everybody looked like they were punching the same, or the speed of the punches, or the impact of the punches didn't feel good, etc., etc. So I was contacted directly by Steel City Interactive, and they told me exactly this. I'm not even going to put any opinions in here. I'm just going to read this, and then we'll have opinions on what they said, because this is literally here to just clarify everything. I'm writing just to clarify, basically in case things go off on a tangent, as it certainly wasn't our intention to send fans on a wild goose chase. The punches were placeholder in gameplay trailer. You can appreciate the back end work required to make these work simply due to the functionality and integrating the code base. They absolutely are not the motion captured punches. This is incredibly important, this part right here. Based on boxer weight, with each weight class of boxer punching according to his size and metrics. A bantamweight would never punch like a heavyweight. We have already had different weight class boxers come into the studio to record their punching. Of course, heavy testing and R&D, which I believe is research and development, then takes place. Our aim is to deliver the best boxing game for any video game platform moving forward or goes on. We hope not to disappoint fans. So please remember, the punches were placeholders. And now, for any of you out there that are, because I'm not a programmer, I'm definitely not a video game developer, programmer, anything like that. I want a boxing game. I want a good boxing game. And I've played many video games in the past, and as of course, Fight Night. So he even gives me information on how and what happens and why this happens. He sends me a link to an article that talks about placeholders that are used in the development pipeline when developing a game. And it reads, placeholder assets are used to save time and money. These low quality assets stand in for things like weapons and props during the early testing phase, and if approved, they're replaced with final high quality versions later on. All right, guys. So we need to talk about this because what he's saying has massive ramifications and is a massive ripple effect to the entire game. Literally, my only gripe with the movement trailer was the speed and to a lesser extent how the punches were connecting. I loved the footwork. I was just not fully there when it came to the punches, but I felt like it could be fixed. But not only could it be fixed, it is not what the punches are. They actually motion cap the punches. They use artificial placeholders to throw punches, which is why we barely see any punches being thrown and a lot of freeze animations, because it's not representative of what their actual punching will be. They've done multiple motion captures for multiple different weight classes, and I'm sure for different types of styles, etc., and those will be the punches that we see. So don't be shocked when we see a drastically different punching animation. The movement trailer was highlighting movement, not punches, which means that the footwork was within their motion capture, but their punches were artificial placeholders. That's why the punching looks so jarring compared to the footwork, because the footwork and movement looks so natural, but the punching didn't match that natural look of the movement. But now, guys, we know. So will Esports Boxing Club be a failure? Episode 1, potentially. I would say based on this information, no. If the roster means everything to you and that's make or break, then there's nothing really that I can tell you. But all I'm saying as a fellow boxing aficionado and Fanatico is that if you truly want a boxing game, don't hold their feet to the fire because of 1 or 2 fighters that you want. Give them a chance to gain that popularity if they deserve it based on gameplay and animation. And when it comes to the punching, well, lo and behold, that's not even going to be the punching that they will implement when the game comes out. They will actually have motion capped punching, which can easily elevate the punching animation to the standard of the footwork animation. I hope this video was informative for you guys. And of course, if you guys want more information like this, there are so many moments where I'm in contact with Steel City Interactive. So you want to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and you want to hit that notification bell, because as soon as I get information is as soon as I drop that information for you guys. This is Boxing Fanatico, and I'm out.